Topo Athletic is committed to lifelong health and better movement. Topo builds running shoes for those who get out there every day regardless of weather, speed, energy, or mood. Their distinctive fit and feel combines instinctive human movement with modern performance and lightweight comfort to help you keep going, keep trying, and keep moving. Discover the Topo difference and step into a run experience unlike any other. Hey everybody, welcome to the 117th episode of our fireside chat. We have a super special guest today. We are going to be talking to Rebekah Keat, who is a 6-time iron distance champion triathlete, a 2-time world record breaker, a 3-time national champion with over 25 Ironman and 70.3 podiums. And if that is not enough, she is also a high performance coach with degrees in exercise science and nutrition. She is one half of the team that started Team Serious Tri Club with her wife, Siri Lindley. So without further ado, let's get Rebekah Keat on the show. Hey, Rebekah, how are you?
Good. How are you? When you read that, I'm like, did I really do that? I feel so old. It's a long time ago.
By the way, I will tell you this. I went to the website and it says you've got 30 podium finishes. I just used the 25 that you sent me in the email.
Something like, who knows? I don't even know. I had to count how many Ironman wins I did because I really don't even know.
Do you remember the world records that you've broken?
Yeah, I do, because it was a world rookie record in my first ever Ironman attempt. I looked at the clock when I was coming down the finish, and I was like, 9:03. That's got to be pretty quick for a rookie. But I'd done like 20 half Ironmans. It wasn't like I just came and did an Ironman. And I hadn't been beaten over half distance in Australia, so it wasn't a fluke, but it was obviously in me. But for the world record with Chrissie, I have to admit, technically, I really don't think I broke the world record, although they said in the newspapers, the world record's broken. Chrissie actually said it before I came across the line. So Chrissie Wellington, if you don't know, is like, I think she won 6 Hawaii Ironmans. I can't remember how many, but a lot. And she went 8:32, and I finished 7 minutes later. I was running her down, but didn't catch her. So 7 minutes later, and we both broke it when it was 8:42 at the time. So, yeah, technically she'd already set the record, but we both broke the original record.
That's amazing. So on our show, we have an icebreaker question, which kind of details who's going to ask the first set of questions for you. Are you ready for the question?
Think so. Is it going to be rude?
No.
Okay,
here's your question. What is your favorite topping on pizza, and why is it not pineapple?
Oh, come on.
It is pineapple.
No!
Yes!
It is
nice
pineapple.
try, Jason.
Like, Australia does pineapple on pizzas. They don't do that here. I love pineapple on pizza.
Wait, Australia does pineapple on pizza?
Yeah.
I got to get to Australia, man.
Cheese pineapple ham is Hawaiian. Cheese pineapple ham is the thing in Australia, the Hawaiian pizza. Yep.
All right, I'm out. So we had another guest on our show earlier today who also said yes, and I'm like, what is going on around here?
And you know what cracked me up is Dr. Irene is from Spain, and Jason was just losing his mind over just like, you're in such close proximity to Italy. Like, why do you want pineapple on your pizza? And I'm like, I love pineapple.
I love pineapple.
Would Siri say that as well, that she loves pineapple on pizza too?
No, she thinks it's weird. That she thinks anything Australians eat is weird if it's not American. So hers is definitely not pineapple or avocado because she's allergic to it. I like avocado on pizza too. Chicken.
Avocado on pizza? What?
Yeah, chicken, avocado, cheese, and pineapple. Good.
Oh, okay. I might have to give that a whirl.
This entire interview is evolving right before my eyes. I do have a question for you. We kind of talked a little bit about the world records, and this kind of plays into that. So your bio says that you have the 6th fastest time in iron distance history. So when you see athletes today, where it seems like they're breaking records on a race-by-race basis almost, when somebody gets close to you, what are your feelings? Are you like, man, I want to still keep in the top 10, or records were meant to be?
I think, you know what? I think that's outdated. I'm pretty sure I'm out of the top 10 by now.
Okay.
Yeah, because that was a few years back. But then I was talking to my mate from Australia who was there at the time, and he went 9. This was in Roth. This is funny. I'm like justifying why I didn't go quicker. But I said to him, do you think if I had what they have now with the ceramic speed, with the disc wheel, aero helmet, like I had a regular helmet, I think I had like not even 404s. They were like even shallower. some Australian carbon wheel. And I was like, do you think I would have gone like 8:25? And he's like, easy. So I reckon it's a little quicker.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because I think about this often when it comes to various sports, right? So in basketball, the hoop is at 10 foot. It was at 10 foot 10 years ago, it was at 10 foot 20 years ago, it's at 10 foot, right? You either can make the shot or you can't make the shot. But in a sport like tennis, rackets have changed quite a bit. And so there's different return of energy from a racket. Golf clubs have changed. And obviously the equipment in our sports have changed.
Yep.
And if you think about today's athlete, the advantages they have thanks to technology are immense. So would you be more surprised or less surprised if the records weren't being broken because of the technology that we have accessible to us today?
No, it doesn't surprise me at all. And I'm not taking any away from any credit from these girls. Oh my God. I mean, they're not just doing super uber fast bike splits because, obviously technology plays into that a lot. There's also more women in the top end. When I was racing, we'd have a few, fast bikers, and I wasn't even really considered a really fast biker. I was just strong. My run was my strength. But now you have like 10 women that are all so strong in every leg. Someone said to me, what was your weakness? I said, oh, you can't really have one. And these top 10 girls, not many of them would have a weakness. They're all strong across all three. And now they're all kind of like becoming more like the men, where there's like not as deep, but there's 10 women that are all super fast every single race. We would maybe have me and Chrissie and one or two other that will push the pace. And not that they draft, but that draft zone still, even just motivating you to and your legal limit, motivating you with 10 in a line, like you're going to go faster, technology or not. So I think there's a lot of things that play into it. But hey, I ran a 2:55 marathon. That was my best. I didn't have the carbon Nikes, but I really don't know if that would have helped that much in a marathon. These girls are running what did one run the other day? Under 240? Didn't Anne Hogg run 230 something? I mean, that's insane. That's impressive. That's impressive.
This is another one that I wonder about, and then I'll pass it over to you, is standalone marathons for you as a pro triathlete. Like you said, the fastest marathon you've run is 2:55. If you were to run a standalone marathon back then, do you think that it would have been 10 minutes faster, 20 minutes faster, since you didn't have another 5 hours on your body?
That's a great question. I ran so well off the bike. Like I used to get off the bike and just feel so good, which is so weird. Not all the time. Most of the time when I did my sub threes, I felt just great. And you're always going to fatigue the last 10K. But Sarah and I talked about this, and I don't know that I would have run. I never tried it. I did do a fun marathon with a friend, and I just kind of jogged it in like 3:10. And that felt pretty easy, but I don't think I would have been more than 5 minutes quicker. I just was a great runner off the bike. Like, yeah, I know Rinny had thoughts of going to marathon. I feel like she could go 2:30 easy, but because she was doing like under 2:50. But I really think my strength was the run off the bike, so I don't know that I could have gone that much quicker. I'd love to say I could, but I really don't think I could have. Maybe 2:50. Yeah.
Man, that is just those numbers are just hard for me to fathom in the arena that I'm in.
They're hard for me to fathom. I can't even hold that for 30 seconds anymore.
I was just thinking, we were talking in the green room before the show, and I was like, yeah, I ran this, 100 miler as fast as 19 hours. And you're like, yeah, I probably run a marathon at 2:50. And I'm like, wow, that is blazing fast.
Yeah, but we had to get it done. Like you guys that do the ultras, like I just couldn't even fathom it. Like we think Ironman's a harder sport until you talk about ultras, and this 20 hours of running that's just insane. That's another level. I don't think my body would allow me to do it, but I mean, you guys, that's crazy.
So I have to ask you, kind of going back to the start of your journey, how did you get into the sport of triathlon, and what kind of sparked your interest to begin with it?
I know I told you I don't have a photo of her, but I have an identical twin sister, and she always says it's not true, but it really is true. Any ball sports, I was better. I was a little bit of a tomboy, and anything else, she was better swimmer, better runner. Probably better cyclist, we never rode together, better swimmer, better runner, better at everything. And she was age champion every year from grade 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then in grade 11, I thought, I'm going to see if I can actually beat her. I'm going to train for the cross country. And I passed her and she stopped and started walking. So I never got to beat her. And she was a more natural athlete. So we were really, really competitive growing up. I hated losing, especially to my sister. And she would always push me. And then finally, year 12, I decided to do I did the Junior World Championships for triathlon, and I won the Junior World Championships back in 1996. And then I'd found myself and I'd found my sport. And it was also, for me, with my identity, I struggled with being gay. So that helped me feel confident in myself. And it really helped with me coming out and like owning my identity, because I didn't have any self-confidence. My sister kind of was the most popular. She was the prefect, she was school captain. And I was always kind of like the introvert, believe it or not. It just really helped me find myself. So I found myself through the sport, and just got confidence through it. And that's thanks to my twin. And she always says, it wasn't because of me. I said, yes, it was, because I actually found something I could beat you at.
Man, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jason.
I was going to ask, so you mentioned, the difficulty in coming out and being gay in these, I'm presuming in these sports, but also with family possibly. When you did come out, was there this like amazing relief, and did it translate to performance at sport?
That's a great question. I've never thought of that. I had a lot less anxiety. I still was quite kind of nervous in public about that, because I'd had relationships with pro men and like well-known pro men, and I thought, oh God, and I thought, oh God, this isn't going to go down well. But I think he was the only one that was hurt by it. Everybody else was very open to it. My mum was amazing. My family was amazing about it. They kind of said, we already knew. But I'm trying to think if that was parallel with, that was like I was 21. I think I ended up, when I got my first Ironman win I was 24 or 25. Yeah, I think I would say I definitely had more confidence for sure. But it was still kind of hard. I'm not that it wasn't accepted, but it was still a little hard because I'd be in the public eye, and I'd been dating guys, and I knew deep down that I was gay, so that was a struggle. But yeah, definitely gave me some confidence, but it still took quite a while to come to terms with being able to say it publicly. And now I have this most amazing wife, who's just my everything. She's the Pete in my pod. So she's Siri Lindley, if you don't know her. So once I found her, it was all over.
I love it. By the way, for those of you who don't know, Siri Lindley is Rebekah Keat's wife, and she has, plenty of accolades to go around. And Rebekah, while we were booking this conversation, kept touting Siri's accomplishments and downplaying her. So I find it funny that you would say that you were a little bit of an introvert, and laugh about it while you were downplaying yourself throughout our booking conversation.
Yeah, I know. And I think that came from also struggling with my identity as a kid. And it's funny because my mum would say, you wouldn't believe it, Beck used to walk around with her head down at school and not talk to anyone because I was embarrassed. I was like, there was one gay girl in the whole school, and she did not get, a lot of love. So I was like, I just can't do it at school. I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm going to hide it. And that caused a lot of anxiety. I was really introverted, because it didn't feel normal to me. And I tried really hard to fight it. So, but once I found the sport, it certainly helped me with my confidence. And now, obviously, it's accepted. It's very accepted everywhere. Most people are very, very open-minded about it. So, nothing to be embarrassed about, especially being married to someone like Siri Lindley.
Definitely not.
I have to, and I have to agree with that. And I definitely have to. Oh, we got a comment, sorry, from Clark Carvish. Beck is pretty amazing.
Hi, Clark. He's actually in our tri club.
We also have a comment I wanted to read from earlier from Cecilia I. Williams. Woohoo, hello, Coach Beck. Excited to hear this chat.
Oh, Cecilia. She's actually in both my clubs, the fitness group and the tri club. So she's done a lot of races and Ironman. So she's a badass.
So I have to ask, as you're working through and struggling with your identity and trying to figure out who you are, there's also this path of like being gay, being socially accepted, and that growing as well, and also your path as an athlete. How did those things sort of intertwined for you. Like, as you were developing as an athlete, did you feel like you were finding more of your identity?
Yeah, I did definitely. And it's weird because back then I didn't really want to. I would never really like who says I'm straight? Like you just don't say that. Like so I didn't feel like it was necessary to tell a sponsor or but fortunately not unlike Siri has a crazy story that I can briefly go into, but I never felt like I was not included in anything or not chosen by a sponsor because I was gay. But I wasn't ready to kind of throw it all out there either. But I never felt like that held me back or was a reason why I wouldn't get sponsored. It never really felt like that was a chokehold or a barrier. But Siri has a crazy story, and she can tell you when you guys have her on that it was Ralph Lauren. Sorry, Ralph Lauren, but I'm outing you here. Way back in the 90s, she was winning a couple of races, but only kind of like the lower level races and about to go pro. And they didn't think she was going to win anything, I don't think. So they gave her these huge incentives. Like back then, I don't know what it was, but say it was like 25 grand a race because they didn't think she would win it, but they wanted to look like, they wanted a female and a male. So she starts winning everything and like getting all these bonuses. And they said, we can't keep you. The first thing you need to do is you need to find a boyfriend. And you need to basically go back in the closet. So she did for a year, I think, and then she was like, I can't do this. Doesn't feel right. So I was like, that's not good. That did not happen to me. But that was in the 90s, so I think it's come a long way since then. Sorry, Ralph Lauren.
Breaking news here on Lean by Bike.
Yeah, I'm never going to get sponsored by Ralph Lauren. And it's funny because most of their models are gay anyway. They're gay guys. Like, who cares, right? Who cares, like, who your partner is?
Well, here on our show, and you can see with the pride flag as part of our logo,
Love it.
we agree because, and I will tell you the story. It was a couple of years ago. It was July 1st, a couple of years ago, and I was getting ready to swap out the pride banner that we had on our header on our website for the month of June for Pride Month. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, they don't stop being gay on July 1st, dude. Like, what are you doing? And so I didn't change the banner, and it's been up there ever since, going on a year, I think 2 years now, if I'm not mistaken.
2 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and
it looks good. It's a great logo. I was actually going to ask you what's behind that. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, when I launched this business, our initial logo is red, white, and black, and we have it in all different variations. And my thought process for this business and the vision and mission was to prove that there was a spot at the starting line for everybody and everybody. And we wanted to talk to athletes of color, physically challenged athletes, whether that was invisible or visible challenges, LGBTQIA plus community, more women we wanted to talk to and get those stories out there because there were so many of them. Mm-hmm. And our graphic artist is part of the LGBTQIA plus community. And when I told her I wanted to have a pride flag done, she gushed. And in that moment, I saw how proud she was to have a brand say, we're going to put this up on our site. And I think maybe that was a part of it subconsciously as to why I didn't want to change it either, right? Like I knew how much it meant to her. And I don't mean to hijack our interview with you, but then
so cool.
One day I got connected with an athlete and asked them to interview with me. And when they came on the screen for the interview, they said the reason why they came on, despite being timid about doing it, was because the banner on our website had the pride flag. Wow. And he felt that he would be safe talking to us.
There you go.
And
I love that story. And it looks so good. Like, don't change it.
Never.
That actually makes me want to turn the question over to you, Rebekah. And that is a question that I ask anybody who identifies in the LGBTQ space. And that is, one of the things Jason and I always ask ourselves as a media company is what can we do to make people in the LGBTQ space feel more comfortable to tell their stories?
That's a great question. For me, I feel like even the younger generation, even though it's way more accepted from when I was growing up, and then again, way more from when Siri was growing up, I still feel like they struggle. And I think for me, from what I've experienced with the younger generation, like the teens, they really struggle with telling their family and their parents. And some parents still disown their children. I mean, Siri, I don't want to tell too much of her story, but her father disowned her. And I mean, to tell the truth, my dad came out as being gay when I was 21. And in my head, I was like, wow, I'm gay too, but I'm not ready to tell you yet. That makes sense. Is it genetic? Is it inherited? I don't know. But I'm getting off course, but I always joke that it can't be inherited 100% because I have an identical twin and she's definitely straight. She is not gay. So I'm still trying to work out if it's the 0.0002% of the identical chromosomes that was the gay gene or something. We always laugh about that. But in all honesty, I think they struggle with maybe telling family and close friends because they don't know, what the reaction is going to be. So that's the hardest thing. And I wouldn't even know how to tell you to navigate that. I think as long as they have someone they can talk to, someone close, because generally you would have a feeling of what your parents are going to feel like, because some of them can be very homophobic, and you're not going to come out to your dad if he's being completely homophobic your whole life. Like, that would be a real struggle. So I wouldn't even know how to navigate that, but they need someone. And we always want to do the horse therapy with these generations that are in that position, because I feel like with horse therapy, it's nonverbal, but just the connection and the love that horses give, and the way they open you up emotionally. And it's hard to explain unless you do that. Like, that's something we really want to become more involved in. We do cancer survivors, and we do all sorts of people suffering from all sorts of chronic illness, but that's something we really want to be more involved in, the LGBTQ. Now, I don't even say it properly, Jason. I'm gay. Like, I don't even know how to say it properly, which is horrible. LGBTQ something. I missed something. What is it, Jason? Tell me. Gotta correct me here.
LGBTQIA plus, but I've
I
seen
plus.
other forms of it. I've seen IS plus. I think this is an ever evolving scenario as more and more young people are standing up for themselves and saying, no, this is who I am, and this is who I want to be referred to as. And far be it from me to tell somebody, no, that's not how it's going to happen, right? I just think it's super important for us to address the human being in the room, as opposed to some stereotype or some set of letters. Like, we want to talk to the person in the room. I know when we've had Rach McBride on, who is a non-binary professional triathlete, gravel cyclist, when we have them on, I make it a point to emphasize their pronouns, because I think it's important, right? That the people that are watching and listening to our shows understand who they are. And so when we have other guests on, we wouldn't treat them any differently. So why would we treat them differently, right? And we'll have conversations. And I think these are the hard conversations that need to be had, which does lead me to another question. But first, we have seen some comments coming through on Facebook, which are awesome. So Clark Carvish, Beck is pretty amazing. Karen Peterson,
Pay you later.
A badass coach and human. Clark followed up with, this is all very important statements. And then here's a question for you from Annette Miller. What advice do you have for a person thinking of doing their first triathlon? And we can lead into a bunch of different questions from there.
Wow. Gosh, I made all the mistakes, and you probably will too. But I would say find a friend that's in the sport for sure, and try to find a friend that's been in the sport for more than like a week or two, because they may not have the knowledge, but find someone that's been in the sport that can help mentor you. And if you love it and you do your first one, you love it, I would say definitely recommend a coach. That's just a way to biohack through everything and get the full immersion and know what you're doing, because there's a lot of influencers out there that think they're maybe tri coaches, or they even have their, no offense, but coaching certificate, but they've never done a triathlon, or that doesn't necessarily matter. Brett Sutton never did a triathlon, but they just don't have the background that say me and Siri have. I think we have like 55 years now. That makes me sound like an old grandma, but we just have the experience. So, and I don't know, I just think this sport is so huge. There's so many races now. There's so many new series. There's so much money in it for the pros, but we never forget that the age group they make it happen. Like, we couldn't have the sport without them. So I love nothing more than racing with age groupers, and it's the only sport in the world, other than the ultras and some of the marathons, where the age groupers can race with the pros. Like, we're on the same field at the same time. Like, it's pretty amazing. So there's really nothing like it. And I would start with a sprint. Don't go right into Ironman. Definitely start with a sprint, Annette. I want to see this. I'd love you to do that, Annette. You're amazing. So start with a sprint, then try to move to Olympic. And then I have people come to me wanting to do Ironman right away. Just progress through the distances, just so you know your body can handle. Like if you're a more mature athlete, 45, 50 plus, you could be menopausal. I don't know how old you are, but you just want to start small and to see how your body handles it. Because Ironman, that's a big ask to push your body through a 8 to 16 hour Ironman. That is a lot of toll on your family, and you will not have a life for that period of time if you want to train properly.
I'm I've not done an Ironman. Jason's obviously done 8, so there's 8 between the two of us. um, I'm glad you brought that up because it was, it clicked something in me that Rach McBride actually said back on one of our very first episodes of the Fireside Chat about how there is this fixation on doing Ironman. And just like jumping to that distance. I'm glad you made the comment about starting with the sprint. And I just wanted to kind of know a bit more about your thoughts on what seems to be a movement towards like just going like right from like 0 to Ironman.
I've got a young guy that I coach, and he's only like 22, 23, and he's already done 2. And it's too many. I said to him, you're so young. This is so hard on the body. And he does it in like 13, 14 hours. He's not going super fast. And I said, it's kind of dangerous. Like your heart is bruised. Your heart's a muscle and it gets bruised and it takes time to recover. And you shouldn't be racing within 4 weeks after that, if not longer. Definitely not at that age doing more than 1 Ironman a year. And I'm trying to hold him back, but he just loves it. He's so passionate about it. Like for me personally, if it was my child, I wouldn't allow them to do Ironman until at least 25. There's so many injuries. It's a huge commitment, and just the wear and tear on your body. I mean, you're running a marathon off the bike. I mean, you ultra guys is even tenfold. It's insane. But I think like if you're someone who's pushing the pace in an Ironman where you're like almost the guys now, they're redlining and the whole way. They're like close to they're right on their threshold for 7, 8 hours, the women 9. It's just not that healthy. Like it, and I admit it, it's not really that healthy to do a lot of Ironmans. The series rule of thumb was 2 a year, that's it. So Rinny would win the world champs, she'd validate, that was it. You never saw Mirinda Carfrae doing more than 2 a year unless she had to, and that's why she won 4. It's not that healthy on the body. And even for men, Siri believes that for men it's even harder on their bodies. I don't know what her scientific reason is for that. I don't know if she has one, but she thinks it's even harder on guys, and they tend to even do more than women a lot of the time. Then you get the crazy ones like Yvonne van Vleuten, who was doing 10 a year and somehow never got injured. But I'm giving it a bad rap. I freaking love Ironman, but it's not something you want to be doing a lot of. I would say if you're under 25, 1 a year. And then as you progress, 1 to 2 max. Like with my guys, I try to have them doing no more than 2 a year. It takes a lot of time to recover. They say the heart can take 2 months to recover from an Ironman. And the ultra, you must take 2 years to recover.
Oh, if that's the case, then I'm in big trouble.
We're moving at a much more glacial pace on the trail and ultra scene at
This is
100
also true.
milers than we are at the marathon. But I will say this, and I agree with you. Like I couldn't imagine doing more than 2 a year. Owen mentioned I've got 8. I've done 8 of them. They were typically 1 a year for the most part. But I think the thing that a lot of people forget about is it's not just a training time, right? An hour in the pool, an hour in the, run, an hour bike. It's if you're in a pool, you got to drive to the pool, you got to drive home from the pool. That takes time. If you go out for a 4-hour bike ride here in the States, and it's not like this massive open country road, you've got stoplights, you've got stop signs, you've got traffic. That 4-hour ride is all of a sudden 5-6 hours. I mean, all of the time adds up and can quickly lead to burnout if you're constantly trying to do, 2, 3, 4, 5 a year. So I'm with you. 1 to 2 max is plenty. And you're right about recovery time and going as hard as you can. Like my fastest marathon at an Ironman is 3:51, and my fastest standalone marathon is 3:31. So you're going hard off the bike for sure.
Yeah, that's
So, speaking of recovery, there is a lot to unpack with life after being a professional athlete. And you mentioned horses earlier, and I do want to get into that. But we have a comment from Cecilia Williams, and she's asking a question. I'm training for my first SOS triathlon in New Paltz, New York. I probably butchered that name. It's a 7-leg race, and I feel like I'm hitting up against a bit of burnout as I train. How do I get enough recovery in to avoid the fatigue?
Hmm. Now, I know Cecilia very well, and I would have to agree. And I think because I know her personally, I think I see, and I don't know if this is true, Cecilia, but I see a lot of the time you're in the gym, you're doing strength, you're doing yoga, you're adding all that, as well as your swim, bike, run. But I don't know you well enough that that's 100% certain. And there is definitely a time and a place for that. Pro athletes, if we had time, we would do recovery, our Normatec boots, our Epsom salt bars, our yoga, our stretching, our mobility, our strength work, our swim, bike, run. We could do all that. But you probably are working full time doing this, which makes it even harder. These guys that work full time, that's, as a coach, we have to be very in tune with that, and the family work-life balance. It's really, really even harder. We didn't have to worry about. We had the luxury of being full time, but I would say we as coaches, like me as a coach anyway, I always say sport specific strength, like do your swim, bike, run, and then you want to do your stretching mobility, do in front of the TV. Erin Carson is an amazing, she has a Monday free session. It's like 20 minutes. It's all mobility for triathlon. 20 minutes, do it. I just make my guys do that. Then it's done for the week. And then foam roll, stretch while you're watching TV, put your Normatex on and do your swim, bike, run. That's it. No extracurricular stuff. No, one of my older guys likes to do hot yoga and he misses his swim. I'm like, Morris, what's more important? Like, you are not a swimmer. Like, your swim is not good. It's not strong. And you're always complaining that you can't swim, but you go and do hot yoga twice a week. Get in the pool. Dude, I love him. He's a great guy. But do your swim, bike, run and do your strength specific work on the swim, bike, run. Paddles in the pool, band in the pool, that sort of strength work. Big gear work on the bike, hill reps on the bike, incline on the run, hill work on the run. And that's what you should be focusing on. 7 disciplines. I don't know what else is included there. That makes me feel burned out just thinking. but you want sport specific and stick to that. Stick to swim, bike, run. And yeah, mobility and stretching is important. Yoga is great, but try to do it like in front of the TV instead of going out and missing a swim or a key session. Does that make sense?
100%. And I think the SOS triathlon, and it's pronounced New Paltz, is multiple disciplines. In other words, you're going to do 2 swims, 2 bikes, 2 runs, and then maybe another 3rd run or something. Like, I don't think it involves another.
Okay.
I think you're cycling through the 3 sports.
Okay. Yep. So I'd be purely focusing on triathlon, unless you don't work and you have time to do. There's definitely a time and a place, but I say to my guys that are missing swim sessions that are poor swimmers, like if you're a poor swimmer and you're doing yoga instead of swimming, and I might get throttled for this, but go and swim. Like, don't do yoga. Like, do yoga in front of the TV at home.
I think what happens with us age groupers, right? The idea that more is better. And so it's like, well, if I can do yoga in addition to my swimming, then I'm going to be better. I've learned the hard way because I went through burnout myself. Like, taking the nap is more important than doing the additional yoga set. Like, sitting in front of the TV and relaxing while eating a bowl of popcorn was more important than doing hot yoga. And I learned that because I did go through burnout myself.
Yep. And you've got to enjoy it. And it's a hard sport. It's a long sport. You have to get the mileage in, even just to finish in the cutoff, like to finish the race in under 16 hours. Like, you have to be training, and you got to get your 5-hour bikes and your 2-hour runs. And that's 7 hours over a weekend. There's your weekend gone. And we have this 10-hour Ironman plan. I kind of got the idea off Ben Greenfield, who was a really good triathlete, age grouper, not pro, but he talked about the 10-hour Ironman plan. I was like, there's no way you could do it. And I was like, actually, you know what? If you did your 5-hour bike, your 2-hour run, then you 3 1-hour sessions a week, you probably could do a 10-hour Ironman plan. But the key sessions would be your long bike and run, obviously, and a couple of swims. So it's probably doable. I think a lot of people overtrain too because they see the pros doing it and they're working full time. They have kids, they have jobs, they have lives, and all sorts of stuff. And they're looking at, say, your Lionel Sanders, who trains 40 hours a week, and they're trying to do 30. It's just not physically possible. Yeah.
Yeah. When I think I maxed out at 20 hours in a week. So it was a part-time job, right?
That's a lot though.
Yeah. And it is exhausting. It is exhausting. We're gearing up to do Indian Wells in December. And so we started our training plan last week, and where it's 35 minutes here, an hour there. It's not even into the thick of, 3-4 hour bike rides yet. And I'm like, man, I need a nap.
I'd be the same. I don't know. I tried to do a bike loop here. It was so silly, and it was dumb because it was like 85, 90 degrees. I left at 10 o'clock. So stupid. I was on my mountain bike. I was on my time trial bike doing it 10 years ago. And I was like, I said to her, I think I'm just going to do the whole loop today. I took one water bottle.
Oh, no.
What an idiot. I call her 3 hours in. I've never bonked in a ride and had to call the wife. I had to call the wife 3 hours in. I was like, I'm completely blown. Bring me potato chips and a Gatorade and a Coke. And she's like, what were you thinking, not having water and riding at 90 degrees on your mountain bike on this crazy ass course? It was like, it's a loop, if you know it, the Fig Loop here in San Ynez. It's hard. Like, it's 14,000 feet of climbing. It's something ridiculous. Maybe not that much, but it's a lot. I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, you ain't got it anymore, Beck. Stop trying to fake it.
Just last weekend or 2 weekends ago, I was on a 1 hour bike ride. We're new to the area, don't know anything about it, climbing this hill, and I got to the top of it, and I was like, the Uber app is right here.
Thousand Oaks is hilly. That's hilly up there. That's got some good biking.
I got to tell you, Becca, I was this close to sending a Instagram message to the California Board of Tourism and asking them, why don't they tell people that when they move to this area, everything is going to be climbing out? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. My friend lives there, and it's no joke. He sends me this data or the hill and the pictures of I'm like, where are you riding? That's like epic climbing there. It's insane. 3 hours of climbing. I didn't even know it was possible there. Yeah, but it is. It's real.
Insane.
Yeah.
You want to know insane? So Cecilia, first she said, thank you for the advice, but here's the way the SOS Triathlon works. 30-mile bike, 4.5 mile run, 1.3 mile swim, a 5.5 mile run, a half mile swim, an 8.5 mile run, a half mile swim, and then a 7/10 of a mile run.
Okay, so that's a lot of different like legs, but it's not that long. Mm-hmm. I'm speaking from like compared to Ironman, right? Like, yeah. Cecilia, you're totally going to nail that. I think you can totally nail that with, you've done half Ironmans and I think you've done Ironman. So yeah, I don't think she'll have a problem with that. But I would say I would probably get rid of the strength Pilates and yoga right now and just be focusing on swim, bike, run. Don't shoot me.
Well, before we dive into the fun rapid fire stuff, there's something we talked about in the green room, and it's something that isn't often talked about with professional triathletes or even professional endurance athletes, and it's life after, basically giving your heart and soul to the sport and making it like a piece of you, and then eventually like having to leave it. So talk about that transition from like being a professional athlete to life after. And also, I'd love to hear more about like rescuing horses as well.
Yeah, I was just pulling up my cards.
It's so cool.
That's Halo. He's an amazing riding horse. He's still with us. And then there's a couple of guys here. These are just some of our rescues. We've saved, it's called Believe Ranch and Rescue. If you guys, maybe one of my guys can write it in the comments. So Believe Ranch and Rescue, it's a 501c3 nonprofit. We've saved close to 310 horses now. This guy's passed away now, but it's kind of like I knew I'd be doing something with animals when I retired. I just didn't know what, and I was so scared to retire. And in 16, I tore my calf in Cairns. I was in the lead group with Jody Swallow, and I remember just stepping down the gutter for like about 3 miles in, and I just feel this, and I'm like, oh, not again. And it was probably the 20th time, at least, that I'd torn my calf. I was like, my calves, like, they're good calves, but they're my nemesis, like they're my Achilles heel. And so during that race, I thought, I need to, this is it. This is going to be I knew in my mind it was going to be my last race. I pushed through. I put lots of ibuprofen, lots of water, and was vomiting the whole way because the anti-inflammatories didn't go down well on empty stomach. But got through it and finished. I think I still finished 6th or something, but it was terrible. And I thought, my body is telling me something. I need to just throw the shoes in and call it a day. And that's the end of the sport. That's the last race for me. I knew that. In 16, I was hoping to finish on a win because I'd won Shepherd in 70.3 that year, but that wasn't going to happen, and I didn't get to go out in the high. But it was time. My poor calves, they were just like, "You're done." So then my wife. I'll try and make this quick, but my wife dragged me to. I don't know if any of you guys are Tony Robbins fans, but I didn't know who he was. And I told him the story and he just laughed so hard at it. But my sister was obsessed with him. He's a good looking guy, but he doesn't like being called the guru, but he's a personal development, amazing philanthropist, and is a huge donor to our nonprofit. And Siri said, I'm bringing you to Tony Robbins. I said, I'm not going to that. What, they're drinking Kool-Aid? Like, what is that? Like, I'm not going. And she goes, you need to just come, just trust me. I was like, I'm not coming. So she drags me there, and I'm still like, I'm a little shy around people still, and they're high-fiving and dancing on day one. I'm like, oh my God, like, this is insane. Like, I don't like touching people's hands. Like, I'm a germaphobe. Like, day two, I was kind of dancing, and there were like crazy people like in the audience. Like, I'm trying to think, one of the rappers, and then there was really famous people in the front row. I was like, yeah, you must have something about him that people like, because he's obviously helped change a lot of people's lives. By day three, I was like, yeah, there's more to my identity than just triathlon. And we started to go through all these personal development steps, and just, I'm not doing it justice here, but I started to think, God, there really is more to me than just a sport. And like, I'm going to start coaching, right? So bringing in the income, but I want fulfillment. And for me, it's got to be animals, has to be animals. So we started Believe Ranch and Rescue, and they had the crazy cat people, right? We were the crazy horse people. Like, we were on 1 acre. We saved like 5 horses the first week. We had no idea what we were doing. I grew up on a farm. So Siri says, we're city girls. I'm like, I grew up on a farm, Siri. Like, you were the city slicker. She had no idea. Like, I had no idea, but she had no idea. Like, we had cattle, sheep, but we had a horse that I rode, but I didn't know what I was doing. My granddad would just slap it on the ass and I'd go. And so we saved these 5 horses, and I was obsessed from that day. And we're like, what are we saving them from? They're at this auction. What are we saving them from? We start looking at what's happening to horses in America, how they're being shipped to slaughter, dismembered alive in Mexico, and the rich Europeans are eating them. But the way that they're treated was just so inhumane. And that video, thank God, is no longer available. But I remember my wife screaming, and she's like, right, we have to do more. So we started lobbying the bill to end horse slaughter. It's still in the process, but since then we've saved basically 300 horses. And I think that event, the Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within, I realized that although triathlon's been my identity for 25 years, there's so much more to life. And I wanted something that was going to be really fulfilling. And winning is hell, that's fun, but the glory kind of lasts like a second or a day or a week. But there's really no true fulfillment to your giving back to something outside yourself. And I did that a little bit with the sport, but being so selfish, because you have to be for 25 years, it feels so good. You rescue these horses, and they just know. They know they're safe. They know they're coming home with you. And we go to auction now. We save these horses. You see them. They feel so neglected and abused. And you see it in their eyes that they're like terrified, but they kind of have this hope when they see you. And there's nothing better than going to auction and loading them on your trailer and bringing them home. And we have 24 here, 10 in Colorado. And it's become my why and my passion, as well as obviously coaching. And that coaching thankfully helps fund that. And a lot of my amazing athletes, like some of them on the thread here, are big supporters of our nonprofit. So that was a long answer, but you have to find something that is going to fulfill you, and it has to be something outside of yourself. And for us, it's saving horses.
I think your answer is proof that the other things, your accomplishments, are going to go by really fast, and you may not remember them because you were like, yeah, I don't know if I'm still 6th fastest.
No, I know I'm not.
How many podiums I have, and I don't like it. I think it's proof, right? That the things that you're doing after sport, rescuing the horses with your wife, and is the thing that you're going to remember more and more and more. Because I bet you, if I asked you, tell us a story about a horse, you probably got 100 of those, right?
Yeah,
but if I asked you, like, tell us about that one training day that wasn't on the mountain bike, and where you needed to call your wife to help you out, you'd be like, I don't know, I rode my bike for 3-4 hours and it was cool.
Yeah, totally. I know, it's my passion, and we've learned so much. It was full immersion. Like, we really, I grew up on a farm, so I knew enough. I'm not going to say I didn't know anything, but Siri was a full city slicker, and she didn't know anything, but she will find a way, my wife, literally. And we had to find out. We just had to save the horses. We had to find out like how to care for them. Rescues sometimes can't eat what other horses can eat. You don't know anything about them. You don't know their history. They never give you their history, because a lot of the time they don't want to, because they're probably embarrassed that they gave up on them, or they just don't have the knowledge of what could happen to them about the slaughter pipeline. But we don't know anything about it. We're going to find out. We're going to work out for ourselves. Were they abused? Like, what's this injury? Like, are they going to be riding horses? And personally, I love riding, but I don't ride much. I would much rather just love on my horse and just groom them and kiss them and cuddle them. And they're like big dogs. Like, they follow you around. Some of them, and they're all very different personalities, like dogs. Like, very intelligent. Each and every single horse, I can remember all 32 names very easily. And people are like, how do you remember their names? I'm like, they're all so different. Very different. Yeah.
I love it. So before we jump into our rapid fire food questions, I do have one last question for you, because you talk about coaching and how passionate you are about that. And here's a question that I had written down. What do you think allows you to coach athletes when some high profile athletes like a Michael Jordan cannot make that transition to coaching, right? Where those athletes have a hard time telling and leading athletes to success. Whereas you and Siri have both been able to take what you did professionally and translate that to success with the age groupers that you're working with. Like, what do you think it is that allows you to do that?
Yeah, because I've never been asked that. You guys ask such great questions. Ask Siri that too. That'd be a good one for her. I would say I love people. I love helping people. I've always been, and maybe it's a twin because I had to share my whole life, although I never liked sharing with her as a kid. But I didn't. We fought a lot. We love each other, obviously, but I love sharing. I love helping. I never do it. I never feel like I don't want to be the coach that, oh, what am I getting out of it? Like, I want to be there for them. And I feel like it's almost a disservice for Michael Jordan. And obviously he's got other reasons, but for any pro athlete that's looking at coaching, I feel like it's a disservice to not share our knowledge. You know, at first I was like, oh, we can't share all our key workouts. We can't share those 3800s we did with Brett Sutton every week, coming in on blah, 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 holding this pace. And it's like, no, like, who cares? I'm out of the sport. I want to help people. We can allow them to almost biohack their way through an Ironman without having to do all the fluffy stuff. We know what works. We know what works for our athletes and what worked for us. And it's not, one shoe fits everyone, but we don't work on honestly power or numbers or heart rate. I do a little bit more series way more against it than me with my exercise science background. I like to see numbers, but most of our stuff's on perceived effort and feeling. And that just seems, and Brett Sutton's a huge advocate of that. And he's amazing. He has results too. And Siri's the same. And I kind of like took bits and pieces from other coaches and kind of designed my own way to coach. And I just feel like it's so important to know your body and to understand your feeling and the feel, and not be too focused on, because, with social media and everything now, your brain just becomes mush and you need to just feel free. Sometimes I just like run naked, not literally, but run free. Like, take your garment off, you guys. Why do you have to look at 7:30 pace for a long run? Go and run. Take your heart rate off. Run easy. Enjoy nature. Stop looking at your damn watch. Your long run is to get time in the legs and enjoy it. So I get so frustrated sometimes with my athletes that are really metric, like, dominated with their training. And I try to say, like, wouldn't it be just nice to just not have to worry about your pace for now? Because there's times when you obviously have to. But that's really my philosophy. And now I've kind of honestly forgotten the question, but I hope I answered it.
You did great. And that's a clip for us. So at the 47:20 mark, you could probably take the reel, because I just had a conversation with an athlete that I coach. I'm like, put tape over your watch. Stop looking at it.
Yeah.
And sure enough, his pace improved by a minute per mile, because he was going by how his body felt, as opposed to trying to run like this. Like,
oh my God.
Doing that would be hard.
Right. I was like, looking at your watch, if you're going as hard as you can, is looking at your watch going to make you go harder? If you're going as hard as you can, go harder. Like, that's not even going to cause anxiety. Like, if you're at a 10 out of 10 and you're like, oh, 7:30 pace, but I need to be at 6:45. What are you going to do? Like, that's not going to help. Just go hard. When you go hard, go hard. When you're going easy, freaking go easy. Like, these guys that run their long runs at like their Ironman race pace or way too fast, I'm like, that's not the point. Like, and some people may be different, like people coach differently, but I'm like, go do your long run. When we're ready to go hard and do our interval sessions, our track sessions, our treadmill sessions, our hill sets, like, okay, that's the time where we're going to focus on pace. But I want you just to go and enjoy yourself. Like, stop looking at your comments. So I'm with you with that, whoever that is. Hope they're listening.
Yeah. And so for those of you who just heard Becca's response to training, she is offering 21 free triathlon workouts on her website. You can go to her Instagram account or on Facebook and go to her profile, and get those free key 21 triathlon workouts. So make sure you go check that out and get started. So are you now ready for our rapid fire questions? And they are 100% about food.
Oh, cool. I'm a foodie, so let's go.
Fantastic. You already got the first one wrong by saying pineapple on pizza.
No, I think you spelled right wrong, which is a funny thing to say.
Oreos. Do you like Oreos? Are you an Oreo fan?
Yes.
Do you like the old school OG Oreos, the double stuff, the things that they call thins, which are nothing but crackers, or that abomination called a cakester, which is really nothing more than a ding dong?
You know what? I mustn't be as big a fan as I say I am, because I have no idea what any of that means. I like Oreo ice cream.
The old school Oreos, just the regular plain ones, right?
Yeah.
So are you a spinner and then scrape the middle? Or are you all of it? How do you consume them?
Oh my God, that frustrates me when I see people do that. I'm like, why are you doing it like that? I like to I would dip it in the tea, like a Tim Tam, but it doesn't really work like a Tim Tam because it doesn't have the heart outside. But I would definitely be dipping it in my tea before it falls off into the tea. So I would say just a normal bite. Yeah.
Awesome. Are you a fan of licorice?
No.
Good.
Nope.
That makes the question easier.
Okay.
Do you know what peeps are?
Even easier.
And I'm Australian too, so this is double whammy.
I know peeps are their own brand. I was gonna say maybe they're made by Cadbury, but they're not.
No.
Peeps are it's a marshmallow covered in hard sugar candy, and they're awful. Like, I'm not sure why they're still in business, but somehow they are there. But we can move on to the next one. Candy corn. You know what candy corn is?
Yeah, I'm not really a fan.
Not really a fan.
My nieces would be, though.
So you would agree that it's nothing more than earwax covered in sugar?
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. I try to stay away from sugar. I used to have a craving as an athlete, and I think it's because I had really low protein. Eat your protein, guys. I hear that protein, I think it works. I'm diverting here, but protein does help with sugar cravings. If you have sugar cravings, up your protein. That's all I've heard from my nutritionist, so we'll see.
Alan Geddes is laughing on Facebook saying that even your Oreos do the swimming.
I love Alan. Yep.
Peanut butter or nut butter if you have allergies. Do you go creamy or crunchy?
Oh my God, crunchy all the time. And my wife bought me smooth the other day, and I was like, is your brain mashed from the smoke from the fire? Because why are you buying me smooth? Like, I'm a crunchy girl. She goes, I stood there and I was like, crunchy or smooth? And I think I was dehydrated because of the fire. And I got you the smooth. I'm like, so I didn't eat it. I went and bought crunchy.
So then do you enjoy peanut butter and jelly or peanut butter and jam sandwiches?
No, just peanut butter on its own.
Peanut butter on apples, on bananas, straight with a spoon?
Anywhere. Crunchy peanut butter, can eat it out of the jar. Yeah.
Is red velvet cake a real flavor, or is it chocolate cake dressed up to go to the prom?
Oh my God, I think it's chocolate cake dressed up to go to the prom, but it's Siri's favorite. It's
red velvet
is her favorite. Yes. For her birthday, red velvet cupcakes every time.
So we ask this question all the time, and Eliza LaPierre, who is a champion ultra runner, she was like, by the way, that was the flavor of the cake at my wedding.
Ours too. We had red velvet and the chocolate. I'm the chocolate girl, chocolate mud. And Siri wanted the bloody red velvet, didn't she? Yeah. There you go.
We'll all have to hang out because we'll all get our own food because Siri and I can share pizza while you have your own over there with the pineapple on it. And then you and I could share dessert while Siri has the red velvet cake.
Yeah, I'm a mud cake girl for sure. Chocolate cake, yeah.
What's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Oh, I think probably peppermint choc chip.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I tell this story. I was at the grocery store about a month and a half ago, and the guy was walking out, and he had 2 pints of ice cream, one in each hand. And I said to him, leaving, I said, not all heroes wear capes. He turned around and looked at me and he was like, what? I'm like, you are walking out of the grocery store at 7 p.m. at night. One hand has peppermint chip mint peppermint
Yeah.
chip gelato, and the other one was coffee chip gelato. And I said, "You're doing that at 7 o'clock at night? That is not like normal." And he just started laughing. We had a great time.
I'm
Not,
gonna use
not
that
all
line.
hero wears capes.
I'm gonna use that line.
Do you have a favorite candy bar?
I actually oh my God, I'm trying. What are the? Is it called a patty? It's the chocolate with the white, like what is it called? Oh my God, I don't even know what
A
it's called.
wafer?
Peppermint patty?
Yeah,
The
A
mint
wafer.
one?
it's like chocolate, dark chocolate, I think, and it's got the mint patty. Is that what it's called? Mint
Yeah,
patty?
peppermint patty.
Yeah,
Yes.
peppermint patty. I love them. I always scoff one like on the way. I just can't help it when it's just sitting right in front of me and I'm checking out and I'm like, gotta have one.
Same. I used to go to the store that always have like the individual ones, the smaller ones that they would sell for a quarter.
Too
You know,
small.
nobody carries change anymore. So here's $1, give me 4 of those.
Yeah, me too. And they're good hard, like in the freezer. They're really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
My
Peppermint.
mother was a huge fan of Junior Mints, which is just, a smaller version of the York peppermint patty that came in boxes. So that's where I got mine from.
There you go. Good old peppermint patty. Yeah.
You mentioned tea earlier. So do you prefer tea over coffee?
I prefer coffee, but I'm trying to wean myself off having like 2. I used to have 3 or 4 a day, and my cortisol was like a complete really, really, really low. So I know it's not good for you. So now I drink organic. I drink organic and low acidic because obviously acid's really bad for your gut. I've had certain gut. I think every Ironman athlete has gut issues. I have a little bit of dysbiosis in my gut and a little bit of leaky gut. So I've had to cut coffee right down to like every second day, and I still miss it. Sarah doesn't drink it anymore after she went through cancer, but I do 2 or 3 times a week, and I sneakily will go and get one when she's not looking like at the local shop. But I love tea too, but I'm a coffee girl for sure.
So if you want to pretend like you're having coffee but having tea, I'm a huge fan of London Fogs. Like it gives you that kind of like,
we do that. They're so
Yeah,
good. I
right?
didn't even know what it was till I started ordering it. She goes, "So you want a London Fog?" I'm like, "Well, steam milk with a tea bag." And she's like, "Yeah, that's London Fog." I'm like, "Oh, okay. They're really good."
so good.
Yep, we do those. We got a lot in common. We're gonna have to hang out more.
Absolutely. And you're right up the street.
Yeah, exactly. You have to come see the horses.
Absolutely. Chocolate chip cookie or oatmeal raisin cookie?
Oh, probably oatmeal raisin. I don't know, because I always dunk them in my tea, and I just feel like it tastes better.
It is better. It doesn't taste better. It is better.
Yeah. Are we the only ones? I feel like we're alone here. Are we not alone? Like
There are very few people who I did this on a Food Fight Friday when we first launched that video series, and I was getting trolled, man. People are like, "Is this serious? You can't be for real." I was like, dude, a soft oatmeal raisin cookie cannot be
Man,
Yep.
this isn't fair. It's making me very hungry for oatmeal raisin cookie.
I always choose the oatmeal raisin. Yep. I'm a big fan. Yep.
Zero doubts. Okay, so here's our last food fight. Well, it's not a food fight question. Last rapid fire food question for you. Oh, Clark Carvish, oatmeal raisin is the best. We've got a movement going, people.
Yes.
Got a movement.
Clark, good boy.
It's the real reason we started this business, to push oatmeal raisin.
Yeah, you guys need to get sponsored.
Say it louder.
Yeah.
We have a friend of ours on Threads. His name is Victor Lobato. And every time we talk about coffee, he tags Cafe Bustelo because he's trying to get us a sponsorship deal with them as well.
Oh, good. I'll do that too. Because I drink Life Boost, and it's like organic and low acidic. So if they're organic and low acidic, I'll buy some. Yeah.
We're in.
Yeah.
So here's the last question for you. A tray of brownies comes out of the oven. Are you going to the corner piece that has a little bit of that crusty edge, or are you going to the center where the ooey gooey part is?
Corner.
Yes. Are you the kind of person that puts nuts on your brownies?
I don't even know how to make brownies, but if I did, I would. But Siri's allergic, so I wasn't not allowed to.
Are you a brownie a la mode person? So do you put ice cream on it?
Oh, yeah.
What's the flavor?
God, I haven't done that in a long time. You're making me really hungry right now. I'll probably just do vanilla for that if I had the choice. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you a tip, and Siri, earmuffs. So if you're only doing coffee 2 or 3 times a week, make one of those times when you put a piece of brownie in the bottom of a coffee mug and top it with coffee ice cream, because then you get like a mocha between the coffee ice cream and the brownie as you're scooping it up, and then the ice cream starts to melt, and it's like utopia. It
Oh
just
my God.
cannot be beat.
So going to try that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So make sure, send Siri out to go do something, and you can have your coffee and your ice cream and everything else that you need, and
Sounds good.
enjoying it.
I can't wait to hear her rapid fire on these. Because we have different food tastes a little bit, and she's developed allergies that she never had before, like avocado and nuts, and so it's gonna be interesting.
Is there a dish that you arm wrestle over? You're like, no, I want to have this, and she's like, no, we're not making it.
Oh God, what would it be? I love salads more than her. Like I could eat salads for lunch and dinner, and she always wants to have veggies, which I love veggies too. But in summer, sometimes I just want a salad.
Yeah.
And I want to have like mango and avocado in it, and she doesn't eat avocado. And that's a little big Debbie Downer because I love avocado. But I can't even put it near her plate because she's highly allergic. And then nuts, sometimes I forget and I make us a salad. I put pine nuts or walnuts. I'm like she will, it's not pretty. So that kind of sucks now.
Rebekah, thank you so much for joining us on our fireside chat. This was a blast. We're going to have you back on because I know we could talk for hours. I actually have like 5 questions that I didn't even get to. So we'll have you back on. Thank you so much for joining us. For those of you who joined late, this will be on our website as well as our YouTube channel by this weekend, probably Friday afternoon, Saturday, and then it will drop on our podcast on Sunday, and you can get that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcast, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Becca, thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to have you on again and get Siri on as well.
Definitely. Thank you for having me, you guys. This is so fun.
Have a great night, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.